Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi and good day everyone. For today we will discuss on the topic fatal accident. As you can see from this slide, yeah. Okay. Before this we already discussed about um, damages, and we discussed about special damages and general damages. So we've discussed the law in Malaysia that governs the matter on damages for personal injuries, which is Section 28A, Civil Law Act 1956. Okay, that section should be read together with the 2019 amendments. Okay, so for topic 10, this topic, we will discuss on fatal accident. Okay, basically topic 10 and topic 11 will be on fatal accidents. We will divide this topic fatal accident to two times, two topics. And it involves cases where the victim dies because of the injuries that he suffered due to the negligence on the part of the tortfeasor, the person who caused the injuries. So when that happened, the question is, what happened after the victim dies? Okay, what happened? Can his relative, for example, his wife or his parents, can they make claims against the person who caused the death of the disease? So that's the question, yeah. And if yes, if the answer to that question is yes, what can they claim? What can they claim? Yeah. Meaning what are the damages that are available for them? So that is our discussion for today. Okay. All right. As you guys can see from the slide, this topic deals with cases where the victim dies due to the injuries suffered in the accident, wrongful death. Okay. And two possible causes of action may arise against the tortfeasor. First, a dependence claim, or second, an estate claim. Okay. All right. Next, okay. As I've mentioned before, fatal accident claims, it can be made after there is accident that caused by a negligence of someone, and because of the negligence on that part, on his part, that negligence lead to the death of the disease. Okay, so after the death of the disease, the dependents and also his estate, they can make fatal accident claims. Okay, and I also mentioned before that previously I've mentioned that the only provisions that discuss about assessment of damages, for example, if the case involves assessment of damages involving personal injuries, the relevant section will be section 28A of the Civil Law Act 1956. Okay, and I've also mentioned that we also have section 7 and also section 8 of the Civil Law Act 1956. Okay, section 7 is on dependency claim, while section 8 is on estate claim. Okay, so I've also mentioned before that there are few amendments made in section 28A of the Civil Law Act, and we already discussed about those amendments before. Similarly, there are also amendments made to section 7 and also section 8. Okay, for example, kalau in cases involving fatal accident claims, there are few amendments such as ada abolishment of damages yang relate for loss of service and consortium, for example. Yeah, this is one of the amendments made. Okay, and there's also the amendments also introduce bereavement. Okay, bereavement, and there are a few other amendments lah that you guys can look and check from your section 7 and section 8 of the Civil Law Act 1956. Okay, all right. And then next, okay, as you guys can see from the slide here, there are two claims. Yeah, look at here. There are two potential actions from wrongful death. Macam apa yang saya cakap tadi, an action by the person's dependents, i.e. dependency claim by virtue of section 7, and also an action by the person estate, i.e. estate claim by virtue of section 8 of the Civil Law Act 1956. Okay. All right. So first, for today, for topic 10, we will focus on section 7, which is on dependency claim. So this is one of the claims that the dependents can make, yeah, once once there's the disease, yeah, there's a death of his for example, his wife or his husband or whatsoever, yeah. Okay, first dependency claim, kalau you tengok di sini, okay, a dependency claim under section 7 subsection 1 of the Civil Law Act 1956. Okay. If you read section 7, subsection 1, let us look here. Yeah. Kalau you baca section 7, subsection 1, it's quite lengthy. Yeah. But if you read this section, basically the gist for this section is that it stated that the dependents, they can claim damages for the death of the deceased. That's the gist for subsection 1. Okay, dependents can claim for damages for the death of the deceased. Okay, all right. I will not read the section because the section is quite lengthy. I believe that you guys can read, yeah, section 7, subsection 1. So the next question is, after we are reading this section 7, subsection 1, the question that arises is, who are the dependents? Okay, because we said that dependents can make a claim, but who are the dependents? Who are the dependents? Because before a person can claim damages for the death of the deceased, they need to prove that they are dependents. They are dependents. So who can be considered as dependents? The answer can be found in section 7, subsection 2. Section 7, subsection 2, this section, yeah, of the Civil Law Act 1956. Kalau you baca section 7, subsection 2, I read here, yeah. It said that every such action shall be for the benefit of the wife, husband, parent, and child, if any of the person whose death has been so caused, and shall be brought by and in the name of the executor of the person deceased. So basically, section 7, subsection 2, it defines the word dependent. Siapa boleh kita panggil sebagai dependent? Who can be considered as a dependent? So it said that the person who can be considered as dependents are first, wife, husband, parent, and child. So this person, they are the one who can claim for dependency claims. Okay, they can apply for dependency claim under section 7. Okay. So kalau you baca this section, section 7, subsection 2, it shows that there's no definite explanation who can be considered as child, who can be considered as parent, yeah. So kalau you nak tahu lebih lanjut the meaning of these words, you can refer to section 7, subsection 11. Okay, as I've highlighted here, section 7, subsection 11. This section, section 7, subsection 11, it further defines the word parent and the word child. Okay, as you guys can see, the word parent include father, mother, grandfather, grandmother. Okay, while the word child includes son, daughter, grandson, granddaughter, stepson, and stepdaughter. Yeah. So kalau if any person, it falls under one of these people, so they can be considered as a dependent of the disease. So bila dia be considered as a dependent of the disease, that person can make a dependency claim. Okay. And those who are not listed under this section cannot claim for dependency claim. Okay, contohnya adalah siblings. Okay, they are not considered as a dependent. And because of that, the court tak ada power untuk allow any siblings claim for dependency claim, because the word dependent itself, we need to refer to section 7, subsection 2 and also subsection 11. Okay. Alright. Jadi you guys boleh refer kepada case Zulkifli Ayub, where in this case the court also discuss the word dependence. Ya, kalau you baca dekat sini, the court held that the dependents for the purpose of section 7 of the act are wife, husband, parent and child of the deceased. An adopted child cannot therefore be a dependent unless the child is a legally adopted child. So dalam case ini, this case involve adopted child. Okay, but basically the gist is that if you're not fall under any of these categories under section 7 subsection 2 and also section 7 subsection 11, then you are not considered as a dependent and you might not be able to claim for dependency claim. Okay, alright. So based on this section, we can say that there's no discretion lah, tak ada discretion. The judges, the court, they don't have any discretion untuk determine who can be considered as a dependent, because there's already defined, the word dependent itself already defined under section 7, section 2 and also section 11. Okay. And because of that, it might cause certain hardship to the claimant, yeah, especially those who are not put under those category, yeah. But we cannot do anything because that's the law. That's the law, yeah. But in few cases, in certain situation, in few cases where there is no exact definition given on the term, then in this situation, the court can be more lenient. The court can be more lenient. For example, dalam perkataan spouse, kalau you baca lagi sekali section 7 subsection 2, apa tu, ada perkataan spouse, ya. Before this is perkataan spouse. It might include husband and wife, ya. Husband and wife. Jadi there's no exact what we call exact requirement whether they should be married legally according to the law, or whether they can whether those who married under customary law can also be included as a dependent. Okay, so in this situation, the judges, they have discretion untuk interpret the term itself. Yeah? For example, they can allow those who are married under customary marriage, they can allow those person to make a claim for dependency claim. Yeah? For example, kalau you tengok contoh kes ni adalah kes Joremi bin Kimin. Kalau you baca dekat sini, the judge in this case define the word wife. Okay, define the word wife to include any woman who has undergone a customary marriage, ya. Tak restricted kepada woman yang marriage according to the law only. Okay, alright. And then another important thing, a divorced wife is not a dependent, and this is by virtue of the case of Payne and Collins. Okay, maksudnya selepas you dah divorce, after that, katakan your ex-husband died because of negligence of someone else, you cannot claim for dependency claim. Okay. And then another important thing is that a wife who is married under customary right is considered as a dependent. Macam apa yang saya cakap tadi, she can be considered as a dependent, even though the marriage is according to the customary law. Yeah. For example, you guys can read the case of Chon Sin Sen. Okay, dalam kes ini, it involve claim for loss of support, okay, by the deceased widow, ya. Dan ketika trial ni defendant dalam kes ini dia ada give few arguments lah, ya. And one of the arguments is that the argument is that the widow was not entitled untuk claim loss of support dalam kes ini. Kerana apa? The defendant argued that the wife was not a dependent. Why? Because they married under customary marriage. Okay, they married under customary marriage. But in this case, macam apa yang saya cakap tadi, the court rejected the defendant's argument. The court said that the term wife itself, it should not be limited to those who are married according to the law only, according to the provision under the law. Tapi it also include those who are married under customary marriages. Okay. So, and then if you read more about this case, you'll see that the court further referred to the Married Woman Act 1957, which said that a married woman includes any woman who has undergone a customary marriage. Jadi it will include those who married under customary marriages. Yeah. So the plaintiff dalam kes ini was entitled to claim for loss of support. Okay. Similarly, you guys can also refer to the case of Tan Sai Hong. Dalam kes Tan Sai Hong ni, it involved Chinese customary marriage, and that marriage was never registered, but the court recognized the marriage, and allowed the claim for dependency. Okay, and then based on our discussion up until now, so we can say that the first thing that you need to prove once you want to make a dependency claim is that you need to prove that you are a dependent. How to do that? You need to refer to section 7, subsection 2. And also section 7, subsection 11 of the Civil Law Act 1956. You refer to that. Whether you fall under that category or not. If yes, you can make a dependency claim by virtue of section 7, subsection 1 of the Civil Law Act 1956. Okay, all right. So that's the first question. The next question is, after you prove that you are a dependent, you're entitled to make dependency claim. Next question is, what are the damages that you can recover? Okay, what are the damages that you can plead to the court? Okay. So, if you look at section 7, subsection 3, you look at section 7, subsection 3, it's quite lengthy. The section itself is quite lengthy, but basically, this section state that dependents, they can recover damages for any loss of support plus other expenses, and then loss of support, and then it's also listed other claims, that the dependent can claim, loss of support, funeral expenses, loss of future earnings, and bereavement. Okay, so katakan A, lost her husband because of B's negligence. Okay, because of car accident, for example, maksudnya A can file an action for negligence against B, and she needs to prove in her statement of claim, A kena list down all the claims that she wants to claim against B. So A, as a dependent, she can claim for loss of support, she can claim for funeral expenses, she can also claim for loss of future earnings, and also bereavement. Okay, but provided that she needs to prove all the elements of negligence, by providing all the evidence necessary, and etc. Okay, so the court then will, after A managed to prove the case, the court will make assessment of the damages, and then decide the multiplier, multiplicand, and then the court will assess the amount of damages. Okay, all right. So these are the damages. Okay, these are the damages. So the question, what are the type of damages? So these are some of the damages that dependent can claim, against the tortfeasor. Okay, all right. Now we will look at one by one. The first one is loss of support. Loss of support. Okay, kalau you baca dekat sini, basically loss of support ni financial losses lah. Financial losses suffered by a dependent because of the death of the disease, because he's dependent on the disease, but the disease is not here anymore, not in the world anymore, already died. So there's loss of support. Okay, it is basically the amount that the disease usually will give the amount to the dependent, yeah. So it's limited to the financial loss only. Jadi we call this as loss of dependency. Loss of dependency for this one you can refer to section 7 subsection 1 and also section 7 subsection 3, yeah. It state about a loss of support. Okay, so for better understanding you boleh refer kepada case Muhammad bin Hashim. Okay, I want you all to read the case of Muhammad bin Hashim and also the case of Chan Chin Min and also the case of Yap Ami, yeah. These cases, yeah, you guys can read these cases. So the first one is loss of support. This is one of the damages, the claim that can be made by the dependent, yeah, against the defendant. Okay, and then aside from loss of support, the dependent can also claim for funeral expenses. Funeral expenses, as stated in section 7, subsection 3, 2. Okay, if you read section 7, subsection 3, 2, it says that damages may be awarded in respect of the funeral expenses of the person deceased if such expenses have been incurred by the party for whose benefit the action is brought. Okay, so kita boleh kata you boleh claim for funeral expenses, yeah. So previously kita dah discuss on fatal accidents claim, yeah, kita dah discuss a little bit and I've mentioned that dependents and their representative they can claim for the death of the deceased, yeah. Jadi kita dah discuss section 7 subsection 1 and then how the court the person need to prove dependent whether he is a dependent or not. How? By looking at section 7 subsection 2 and section 7 subsection 11. So if that person fall under any one of this category, he can make a dependency claim. Okay, then the next question is, what are the damages? The answer is in section 7 subsection 3. So we already discussed loss of support and also funeral expenses. Loss of support, section 7 subsection 3 1 Roman, and then funeral expenses, section 7 subsection 3 2 Roman. Okay, all right. Now the next one is the dependent can claim for what we call bereavement. Bereavement, yeah, bereavement. Okay. Macam apa yang saya cakap tadi awal-awal tadi, saya cakap ada amendment kan, amendment pada section 7 where the amendments add the claim for bereavement. Before this, no claim for bereavement, but later there's claim for bereavement. And then there's also another amendment that increased the amount of bereavement. Okay, okay, let us look at this claim, yeah, claim for bereavement. Okay. Okay, before that, macam apa yang saya cakap tadi, before the amendments is made, under the common law, any what we call any spouse, any parents, they can claim for what we call loss of service and consortium. Okay, loss of service and consortium. This is before the act, yeah, before the act. But later this was established, this was abolished. Dah tak ada lagi dah claim for loss of service and consortium, dah tak ada. Because of the addition of section 7 subsection 3 3 Roman. Okay, jadi dalam subsection 7 subsection 3 Roman ni, it said that they cannot claim for loss of service ataupun consortium, tapi boleh claim for bereavement. They can claim for bereavement. Okay, for this one you guys can this actually means that instead of claiming damages for loss of service and consortium, they can claim for damages for bereavement. Okay, and this bereavement ni first introduced in during the 1984 amendment to the Civil Law Act. Okay, the amendment during 1984. Okay, okay, and then you boleh refer kepada section 7 subsection 3A. 3A, section 7, subsection 3A. Okay, alright. Actually claim for bereavement ni adalah untuk compensate the deceased partners ataupun parents yang suffer, because they grieving, they sad, they're very sad because of the death of the deceased, so they can claim for bereavement instead of claim for a loss of loss of service and consortium. They can claim for bereavement, yeah. Okay. So this is after the 1984 amendment, yeah. You look at section 7, section 3, A. Okay. And then before the amendment made in 2019, the person who can claim for bereavement are, number one, if you look at the slide here, okay, this is the conditions, yeah. The first one, the spouse of the deceased. The spouse of the deceased, yeah. Maksudnya spouse lah, okay, husband or wife, yeah. And then the parent of the deceased person. Parents, yeah. Parents of the deceased person who was a minor at the time of the death, and that person must not be married, tak pernah berkahwin lagi. Okay. Okay, jadi by virtue of section 7 subsection 3A, kita boleh claim for bereavement, boleh make dependency claim, boleh make bereavement claim for bereavement. Section 7 3B states about the conditions, yeah. And another thing, before the amendment made in 2019, okay, the amount of the claim for bereavement, it's limited to 10K only. 10,000 sahaja. You boleh claim up to 10,000 sahaja. Okay, this is after the amendment made lah in 1984, yeah. As you guys can refer to section 7 subsection A, yeah, subsection A of the Act, yeah, Civil Law Act 1956. Okay, all right. That's the position before 2019 amendment. Okay, position sekarang after the 2019 amendment. Okay, this one, yeah, after 2019 amendment, the categories of person pun kita dah berubah. Okay, sebelum ni spouse dan juga parents of the deceased person yang minor dan tak pernah berkahwin. This position before this, yeah. The current position is that the only person who can claim for bereavement are, number one, spouse of the deceased. Okay, this one, yeah, or this spouse, child of the person deceased, and also the parents of the person deceased. Okay, maksudnya suami atau isteri, anak-anak kepada si mati, dan juga ibu bapa kepada si mati, ya. And the current amount that you can claim, instead of 10K, it will change to dia dah berubah kepada 30K, 30,000. Okay, by virtue of the new amendment made to section 7 subsection 3A. Okay, so you need to refer to the new amendment lah to made during 2019. Okay, jadi amount pun dah berubah daripada 10K, amount ni berubah kepada 30K. Okay, for case involving bereavement, you boleh baca pada cases by Nur Famiza, ya. Nur Famiza, this case is the court dalam case ini awarded 10K for bereavement, yeah, because this is old case, yeah, this prior to amendment made in 2019. Okay, you guys can also refer to other cases lah. Okay, but basically the current amount will be 30K for the claim for bereavement. Okay, and then if you read section 7, we already discussed section 7, section 3A. 3A we said that 3A state that you can make claim for dependency and the amount, yeah, the amount. And then we already discussed section 7, subsection 3B, which is about the conditions that you need to fulfill before you can claim for bereavement. And then you have section 7, subsection 3C. 3C, yeah. If you read this section 7, subsection 3C, this section basically said that the amount that shall be the amount of bereavement, it shall be divided equally between the parents lah. For example, the person who claim for bereavement are the parents, is the parents of the deceased, yeah. So the amount should be divided equally. Okay, so that's the gist for section 7 subsection 3C. Okay, all right. Okay, so that's about bereavement. Lastly, we already discussed what we call loss of support. We already discussed funeral expenses, and then we discussed about bereavement. Okay, now we will look at loss of earning. This is another type of damages that the dependent can claim against the defendant. Yeah. Okay, as stated under section 7 subsection 1. Yeah. Subsection 1, you look at section 7 subsection 1, it says about the damages, the type of damages that you can apply. Yeah. Okay. Section 7 subsection 3. Section 7 subsection 3. Yeah. Okay. The last one is loss of earning. Loss of earning. Okay. For loss of earning, kita akan tengok juga position before the amendment and after the amendments. Okay. Alright. Before the amendments made in 2019, okay, before the amendments, the relevant section is section 7, subsection 3 for Roman A. Okay, you look at the section 7, subsection 3 for Roman A. It's quite lengthy, yeah, it's quite lengthy. But this section basically it states that a dependent can claim damages for loss of earning if it fulfills all the conditions stated. All the conditions stated. Okay. So you might ask me, Madam, what are the conditions? Okay. Kalau you baca the section prior to the amendments made in 2019, the condition is that the claimant they need to prove all this. Okay. They need to prove first. They need to prove that the disease was aged below 55 at the time of the accident. That's the first one. Second, it must be proved that or admitted that the disease was in good health but for the injury that caused the death. Maksudnya kena buktikan bahawa sebelum accident tu berlaku, memang the disease ni berada dalam keadaan sihat. Okay, in good condition, in good health. Okay. And lastly, the disease must have been receiving earnings by his own labor or other gainful activity prior to his death. Okay. So these are all conditions prior to the amendments made in 2019. So those who wants before 2019, kalau those who wants to claim for loss of earnings, they need to fulfill these conditions before they can make a claim. Okay. Later, after that, after the amendments, there is no need for the claimant untuk buktikan yang the disease was in good health. Okay. Kalau after the amendments, you need to refer to the same section, yeah, section 7, subsection 3 for Roman A. Okay. So if you read this section, kalau you tengok conditions dia dah berkurang sikit conditions dia compared to the position prior to 1980, the previous amendment, ya. So kalau kita nak claim for loss of support, it is sufficient if it can be proved that the disease was aged below 60 at the time of the accident, and then the disease they must have been receiving earnings at the time of the death. Sebelum accident tu berlaku, dia mesti menerima earnings. Okay, so that's the conditions that you need to prove before you can apply for loss of support. Okay, right. So we already discussed about section 7. Okay, dependency claim. We know that a dependent can claim damages once there's fatal accidents. There's fatal accident that lead to the death of the disease. Yeah, dependent can make a claim for damages, okay, by virtue of section 7, subsection 1. And then the next question is, who are the dependents? You can refer to section 7, subsection 2, and also subsection 11. Okay, so once you prove that you are a dependent, the next question is, what are the damages that you can apply against the defendant? Okay, jadi saya adalah dependent, apa damages yang saya boleh apply? Disebabkan kematian saya punya, contohnya saya punya suami, saya punya someone lah ya. Jadi apa damages yang saya boleh apply? Okay, for this you refer to section 7 subsection 3. It stated all the damages that you can claim. Yeah, the damages are, you can claim for loss of support. You refer to section 7 subsection 3 1 Roman. And then you can also claim for funeral expenses as stated in section 7 subsection 3 2 Roman. Okay, and then you can also claim for bereavement by virtue of section 7 subsection 3A of the Civil Law Act 1956. Okay, section 7 section 3A also states about the amount. Okay, the amount that you can award for the claim of bereavement. Prior to amendment in 2019, the amount will be 10K. After 2019, the amount is 30K. Okay, 30K. And then, what are the conditions that you need to fulfill before you can apply for bereavement? The conditions are stated in section 7, subsection 3B. 3B ya, 3B yang huruf besar ya, 3B of the Civil Law Act 1956. You boleh tengoklah apa dia punya conditions dia. And lastly, another claim that the last claim that the dependent can claim is loss of earning. Macam apa yang kita bincangkan, we also discussed from the point of view from before the 2019 amendment and after the 2019 amendments. Okay, where the position as stated in section 7, subsection 3 for Roman A, it said that you can apply for loss of earnings if the disease was aged at the time of the accident happened, the disease aged below 60, and he must receive earnings at the time of before the accident happened. Then you can make a claim for loss of earnings. Okay, so another important thing that you need to know, kalau you baca important section lagi adalah section 7 subsection 5. Okay, subsection 5 ya, kalau you baca Civil Law Act 1956, tengok section 7 subsection 5. It said that the limitation period, sekejap okay, this one. Okay, the limitation period within 3 years after the death of the disease. So dependent ni kena make claim within 3 years from the accident. Okay, as stated in section 7 subsection 5 of the Civil Law Act 1956. Okay. So we already discussed dependency claim. For this first part, we have discussed section 7, which is on a dependency claim. This is actually the end of topic 10. For topic 11, we will discuss about estate claims under section 8 of the Civil Law Act 1956. Okay, all right. So that's the end for topic topic 10, which is on section 7, dependency claim. We end the lecture here. Thank you so much, everyone. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.